clearly we don't matchmake on fight night, but a fight that close with a champion as great as Pereira has been, do you lean towards immediate rematch?
Probably.
How do you sum up what we saw out of Alex's title reign over the last year, what he was able to accomplish in comparison to the other great light heavyweight runs that you've seen?
Yeah, I think that the story of him and Israel Adesanya is incredibly fascinating. There's guys that come from kickboxing and were able to come to the UFC and dominate the way that they have. And the story between them, it's fascinating. It's like it's nothing I've ever seen before in the sport. Yeah.
First of all, great fight. Anyone who says it wasn't doesn't know MMA. The key to winning for Ankalaev, in my opinion, he wanted it more. Pressure. He looked the fresher man. Mixed in between the takedowns and the striking beautifully. I wasn't sure if he would do that, to be honest, but he did it perfectly. Alex Pereira's run is done as a champion for now. In my opinion, immediate rematch. Alex Pereira is a massive, massive, massive star in the sport of MMA. Lost his title, but the run that he has been on is a warranted immediate rematch, in my opinion. Magomed Ankalaev, to me, looks like he's got his number. It looks like the same thing could happen again, in my opinion.
The first battle ended with Magomed Ankalaev standing tall, handing Alex Pereira one of the toughest setbacks of his career. Now, the rematch is here, and the question is at large. Can Pereira rewrite history, or will Ankalaev prove it wasn't a fluke? Experts are split, breaking down whether Pereira's knockout power can finally find its mark, or if Ankalaev's patience and control will once again smother the former champ. Training footage from both camps only adds fuel to the fire, but it's the expert predictions that are painting the clearest picture of what might happen when these two collide again.
Magomed, even though he's from Dagestan, isn't a Khabib-level wrestler or Islam Makhachev or something like that, but he does have wrestling in his back pocket.
Michael Bisping starts up by reminding viewers that the former two-division champion Alex Pereira is seeking atonement at UFC 320. His opponent is Magomed Ankalaev, who has been undefeated for 7 years and is riding one of the longest streaks in light heavyweight history, who is second only to John Jones. In Las Vegas, the two are getting ready to run it, and the stakes are bigger than ever.
Alex Pereira Potan, the former middleweight and light heavyweight champion of the world that just lost his belt last time out to Magomed Ankalaev. Of course, they were going to do a rematch. And this one goes down at UFC 320 at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas.
Magomed Ankalaev defends his belt against Alex Pereira. Ankalaev hasn't lost in 7 years. He has the second longest win streak in the UFC light heavyweight division behind who?
Looking back at their first encounter, Bisping is blunt about Pereira's struggles. He points out that Potan looked hesitant and unusually inactive, ultimately getting outworked in the very area he's known for, which is striking. As Bisping explains, it's a common trap for strikers facing strong wrestlers. They brace for the takedown that never comes, only to be outboxed instead. That's precisely what unfolded for Pereira, leaving him far more tentative than usual.
Let the hate begin.
And this fight card is shaping up to be ridiculous. Now, there's 2 big title fights on there and 3 fights were announced. We'll get to those in a minute. A lot of pressure on Alex Pereira coming into this one. And you know, after he lost the fight to Magomed Ankalaev last time out, there wasn't much volume. There wasn't much wrestling either. If anything, Magomed Ankalaev beat him on the feet. It was just a hesitant, tentative performance from Pereira, and I understand that. I've been in there with wrestlers myself, and you think that when you throw, they're going to shoot, and then the guy doesn't shoot, he starts throwing punches, he beats you at your own game, and he kind of makes a dick out of you, right?
Bisping says that Magomed Ankalaev isn't on the same grappling level as Khabib or Islam, but says that doesn't matter. Ankalaev doesn't need world-class wrestling to win. He just mixes in enough takedown threats with sharp striking to throw his opponents off. That's what gave Pereira problems the first time, and it could happen again if he holds back. For Pereira, the answer is simple. He can't wait around. He has to push forward, let his hands go, and take control of the fight if he wants his belt back.
I've been there. I know what it feels like. And yes, Magomed, even though he's from Dagestan, isn't a Khabib-level wrestler or Islam Makhachev or something like that, but he does have wrestling in his back pocket. He beat him at his own game. But Pereira is under a lot of pressure here. He's got to come out. He's got to be aggressive. He's got to go forward. If he's going to get that belt back and get some pride back.
He also points out the career crossroads facing Alex Pereira. A second straight loss would raise serious questions about his future inside the octagon. Pereira himself has already hinted at exploring other options, from testing his skills in karate combat to stepping into the boxing ring, and given his financial security, he doesn't need to fight just for a paycheck. But a victory in this rematch would flip the script entirely. It would silence the critics, restore his reputation as one of the most dangerous fighters in the light heavyweight division, and potentially open the door to one of the biggest fights of his career, a blockbuster clash with heavyweight star Tom Aspinall.
He's got to win this fight, because if he doesn't, this might be the last time we see him fight in the UFC. We saw him have a bit of a meltdown on Twitter recently when something didn't go his way. I forget the exact tweet, what it was, but you know what I'm talking about if you follow the sport. And now he's talking about potentially fighting for karate combat. He's talking about potentially boxing. He's made an absolute fortune. He's left his mark on the sport. But if he beats Magomed Ankalaev, then of course, forget about all those conversations. He's going to be staying in the UFC, and he'll probably fancy his chances against Tom Aspinall.
However, Chael Sonnen gave a very different take and makes it clear he isn't betting on which man's hand gets raised. Rather, he's betting on what the UFC itself needs to happen in the match. In his eyes, the promotion isn't just looking at Saturday night, they're looking at the bigger picture. If Alex Pereira wins, Chael argues the only honorable path is to book a trilogy fight, but that comes with a catch. Fans wouldn't just have to buy into this rematch, they'd have to be invested enough to show up for a third fight as well. It's a bold take, but Sonnen believes that's the real storyline hanging over this matchup.
You gotta want to see it twice. Do you want to see the fight 2 more times? Will you come out and support and watch and be into the fight 2 more times? Because if Pereira wins, that's the only honorable thing to do. Right? You gotta settle the score. Pereira knows this better than anybody.
But if Pereira comes up short, Chael sees it as opening the door for him to something even bigger, which is a jump to heavyweight. He frames it as the ultimate reset button for Alex's career. A fresh start, new challenges, blockbuster matchups, and rivalries that could instantly put him back in the spotlight.
With a loss, the answer for Pierre will be very clear. And it will be what he's wanted all along. He now joins the heavyweight division. And I don't think you would disagree with that. I think we would all, if we could hedge a bet somewhere, even proverbially, would proverbially? You know what I'm trying to say. Proverbially? Anyway, we all would understand where Pereira is going to move to heavyweight with a loss. I just want to ask you a question. And you like that idea, right? We love the idea of Pereira at heavyweight, right?
Chael wraps it up by saying that the only sure way to push Pereira toward heavyweight is for him to take a loss. And in his view, that kind of setback wouldn't damage Pereira's star power, it would actually free him up. A loss at light heavyweight could be the very thing that opens the door to the blockbuster heavyweight clashes that fans are dying to see.
If I ask you about that fight, I'm not asking you, do you want to see them fight again? The question I'm really asking you is, do you want to see them fight 2 more times? And when you juxtapose that against potential parity for Alex Pereira in the heavyweight class, which includes and does not exclude Jon Jones. John's got one thing right now, which is Tom Aspinall. He doesn't have another thing. There is not a Jones-Volkov poster being made. But is there a Jones-Pereira potential? Sure. I'm not predicting that for you or going that direction. I'm just sharing for you. Even in the idea of potential, we got to find a way to get Pereira to heavyweight. And the only clear way to get him there is to get him beat. But isn't that the very spot that we're in right now?
According to Jamahal Hill, Pereira doesn't need to reinvent himself to trouble Ankalaev. He just needs to lean harder into one of his best weapons, his kicks. Hill suggests that if Poatan comes in kick heavy, chopping at the legs and mixing in body shots, it could completely change the rhythm of the fight. With that adjustment, Hill believes fans might see a very different version of Pereira in a very different fight than the first time around.
There's some adjustments that Pereira can make to where he can become where he can make himself more of a headache and give Ankalaev more problems, mainly in the kicks. I believe if Pereira comes out and he's more kick heavy and he works behind his kicks more and puts more emphasis on landing kicks, I believe that it can switch up the fight a little bit. We can see a little bit different of the show.
Caio Borralho keeps his prediction straightforward. He expects the rematch to look a lot like the first fight, with one key difference, which is Pereira's mindset. This time, Alex steps in knowing he can defend the takedown, and that confidence gives him the green light to push harder. With less hesitation, Borralho believes Pereira can apply more pressure, take greater chances, and swing for the knockout with far more freedom than before.
Former UFC light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira, he'll be having his rematch against Magomed Ankalaev. What do you think that he needs to do to win that title back?
I think the fight will be mostly the same, but I think Alex could pressure a little bit more because now Alex knows that he can defend the takedowns. He can risk to find that knockout, and I think the fight will be better for him.
Now let's shift gears and take a closer look at how both fighters are preparing for each other ahead of the rematch. We'll start with Magomed Ankalaev, and interestingly enough, by the looks of his training, he seems to be putting in the kind of work that Jamahal Hill actually suggested for Pereira. Ankalaev has been sharpening his kicking arsenal, drilling pad work with serious intent, and focusing on adding more variety to his stand-up game. It's a smart adjustment. If Pereira plans on leaning heavy on his kicks this time, Ankalaev looks ready to answer back with his own, turning what many thought would be a striker versus wrestler battle into a chess match of striking at range. Ankalaev doesn't just look focused on his kicks, he's clearly sharpening his upper body weapons too. He's been putting in serious boxing work, trading shots with sparring partners, and polishing his hands on the pads. Every punch looks tighter, cleaner, and heavier, a sign that he's dialing in the kind of striking that can match Pereira's power. By strengthening his punch game alongside his kicks, Ankalaev seems to be preparing for a fight where he won't just neutralize Pereira, he'll look to beat him at his own specialty.
Вот здесь это надо было будет сделать быстрее, сразу. Не так.
On the other side, Alex Pereira appears to be putting extra focus into the areas that once raised questions about his game, jiu-jitsu, and overall grappling. Training footage shows him drilling both sides of the equation, how to initiate grappling exchanges when needed, and more importantly, how to fight his way out of them when caught. It's clear Pereira understands that against someone as well-rounded as Ankalaev, he can't afford to be one-dimensional. By tightening up his grappling defense and adding new layers to his ground game, Potan is working to make sure he's never stuck in the same positions that slowed him down the first time. Now that we've broken down the expert predictions and taken a look at how both fighters are preparing, what do you think? Are you excited for this rematch and feel it's the right fight to make? Or do you see it as overkill and maybe even undeserved? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to hit subscribe for more fight breakdowns and updates.